Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Spiritual Fluffers. Jason and Amy here with you. Today's title is Tired of Being a Hot Mess.
Never. But yeah, we really wanted to just touch on the subject of sometimes people feel like a victim, and we don't really. That's one way to look at the world, one way to look at yourself, but we kind of want to just give a different perspective of it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have identified themselves as victims. I know in the domestic violence work that I've done and in crime prevention work that I've done, people have moved beyond the word victim and shifted to word survivor.
Yep.
And that's a little bit of a direction of the stuff that we're talking, but I think what we're talking about from a spiritual awakening perspective is actually a quantum leap away from either survivor or victim mentality. So let's just spend a little bit of time talking about what is victim mentality and what does it do for me if I say grew up in an abusive home as a child and I saw myself as a victim. That was very real to me, right? If that was my experience, it's not fair for me to look at someone whose experience it was and say, well, you just get over that, right? Like,
no.
You don't need to, So let's just talk a little bit about the victim mentality and how it is valid, and we need to not unappreciate it, but at the same time, does it really help me to see my life as a victim or even a survivor?
Yes. So, I mean, basically, we would never say the world can be mean sometimes. We would never say that you're completely unentitled to feel this way. We're just saying, is it good and is it healthy to feel this way? And if it is healthy, then you continue with it. If it's not, there might be a better way to look at it, is
right.
what I would say.
Right.
And again, like, did you have a bad relationship? Yes. Was that person horrible to you? Probably, but do you want to have that person hold you back and also live rent-free in your head? No, you don't really want that. So really and once you release that viewpoint of you seeing yourself as a victim, of you seeing yourself as that, you can actually move forward and find a more enjoyable experience. Until then, the ego is going to use that to kind of beat you up and also put you in this little box matrix that you're never in. You're never actually in that.
I think it's interesting to think about labels. We as humans love labels. We did another series on playing chess against yourself and talking about the face self that we put out in order to get attention. And this is a similar thing in that I've taken on either a survivor mentality or a victim mentality, and that's how I am orienting myself in the world, among my family, among my friends, among my coworkers. I've simply said, well, I've come out of an abusive relationship, or I've had an experience of sexual assault, and I'm allowing the experience of that, as well as a lot of times the person, like you just said, to live rent-free in my head. I'm allowing that experience to be a lens through which I make decisions. And I think what Jason and I are trying to say here is, in the spiritual awakening process and recognizing that your soul is never a reflection of the things that have happened here on earth. Your soul is always and ever a divine, infinite being. And it has the ability to create beyond any experiences that you've ever had.
Move past it. Is it hard to do? Oh, yeah, definitely. We're never going to say, oh, no, this is super easy.
Yeah, all of a sudden I'm going to forget the 5 bad relationships that I've chosen to be in.
Oh, yeah,
it's going to be so easy for me to do.
Oh, I just burnt myself on that stove. Oh, I'll pretend like that never happened.
Yeah.
Like, we're very instinctive people. If we get our hands burned on the stove, we're not going to want to touch the stove again.
Yeah.
But again, that's part of victim mentality of, I can't touch the stove because I actually got hurt. And basically, our point of view is that's a very reasonable attitude to have, but
it's limiting.
It's limiting.
It could be very limiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding that any experiences that you've had in childhood or adulthood that you're allowing to define yourself, whether you consider yourself a victim or a survivor, any category is limiting your true potential.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And again, we'll never say that this isn't difficult, but again, there are ways to actually start feeling infinite in nature. And again, we have an episode on ego and how to actually kind of counteract that.
Well, and tapping into what I'm calling your divine source power.
Yeah.
So what does it look like then? Okay, so let's say I have been in a series of abusive relationships. I have sort of allowed those to create a way for me to define myself and interacting with men and or other significant partners to interact and engage and attract those same kinds of people into my life again and again. And now I'm ready to be over that. I'm really ready to be past that. What is that going to look like for me?
Well, unfortunately, like when you're in the victim mentality, it is very difficult to evolve, especially your love level. And if you don't evolve that, then you're going to actually continue to repeat the same mistakes, is what I would most likely. There's a lotto ticket chance that you won't. But I think it's more likely than not you might repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Our goal is to make you move past that.
Well, and to understand more about love levels, please check out the series that we have on love levels and unconditional love. That is a critical aspect to it. We're going to do another piece on law of attraction and how what you're vibrating inside yourself is actually magnetizing or attracting to you. So to your point, if I don't ever actually increase my own love level, if I don't ever really receive love from the universe and understand to open myself up to that, I am going to continue to vibrate at a certain magnetism, and it's going to keep bringing those same experiences to me. One of the things that helped me personally with this process was a book called Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz. The author does this wonderful job of just humanizing stories, people's stories, experiences that any of us would call horrific on any given day.
And also just say, well, again, it's just a great perception of how to look at the world. Do you want to look at it as, oh, this is a horrible existence and can't wait till I die? I'll pretend like this. I'll fight the good fight, but but it's horrible. Or do you want to look at it as an experience that's enjoyable? And every experience, it might not be enjoyable, but is that painting on my canvas? Is that making me a better painter on myself and the world around me? Almost every experience that you have, no matter how horrible, it's helping you better paint yourself. And hopefully, again, if you can get past the victim mentality, hate to call it that, but we all have labels. It's really trying to say, hey, how can I love myself better? I didn't love myself the way I should have loved myself, and that's probably how I got into that. And how do I get out of it is by figuring out how to love myself more, not disliking the world around me, not thinking I'm a victim.
Right. Well, and the Soul's Plan book helped me to understand that our souls actually do incarnate here to learn particular lessons. And one of the things that I've understood from that, and also Matt Kahn, if you can see Matt Kahn on YouTube as well, who is amazing and talks about the fact that we don't want to throw our stories out the window. We don't want to just let it go, just get over it, because actually, as painful as some of these stories are, and I'm very close with someone who was a victim of childhood abuse for a very long time, and these horrible, horrible stories, and you never want to look at someone and say, just get over that. No, that's impossible. But what you could begin to do is study that story in your own meditation time, in your own self-awareness, and see that story as a platform from which you are awakening. So it is not that story has defined you or will be a label for you, but that story is actually almost like if you're going to jump off the high dive, your stairs up the stairs to get to the high dive are your story, and then when you make that dive, it's diving into this new co-creative existence, so that you can learn how to love yourself more. You can learn how to define yourself differently. You can write your story that may or may not include more of this victimization.
Yeah. Well, and then also, again, like, why would you want to throw away this beautiful painting? Like, it created your beautiful self. Like, you created the Mona Lisa when you were creating yourself. Don't hate it. say, no, this made me who I am, and it's going to make me even more. And that's a better way to look at it.
Yeah, I agree completely, because the last thing you want to do is turn the disappointment or the disgust or the hatred on yourself, and I had this done to me, I must have done something wrong, I deserved this. That's not helpful at all.
Well, and the ego has a natural propensity to do that.
Pounce right on that.
Well, and again, when you're stuck in this matrix, it will continue to do that. You can say it's not by saying, oh, no, I hate the world because it did this to me. But again, really what you're doing is it's all going to come back to you if you don't break the matrix.
If you don't get that love level up and start vibrating at a different frequency and start to bring different types of interactions into your life.
Yeah. And again, there's no judgment. There's no...
No, we've all been through it. I mean, I'm still am. I mean, I'm working on finding the next relationship that's not the same relationship I've had with the previous
We're
right?
just both tired of being a hot mess.
I'm definitely tired of being a hot mess.
If you are...
If you're tired of being a hot mess too, we really hope you've enjoyed this. And please leave any comments down below, and make sure and give us a thumbs up if this is helpful. Offer to us any suggestions that you may have if you've actually shifted out of this victim mentality or survivor mentality, or any label for that matter, during this ascension process. How are you awakening from it? How are you getting into your power of co-creation that is doing away with all that old energy and all the old labels?
Yeah, and then just tell us, put below and tell us your story. You'll be amazed how the positive feedback that you'll get from it. It's really it's very eye-opening to see the world as not as horrible as you think it is, that there are a ton of good people out there, and our negative experiences emphasize the good ones and the good people. Like, you're like, wow, this is amazing, because I could have ended up as the person who hurt me, or I could have repeated the cycle.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing that you didn't. And even if you did, you're still,
You still have, if you're still alive,
yeah,
you have time to no longer be a hot mess.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.